Once upon a time, in a place called the 1990s, a young version of the man who would grow up to become the host of the Rock Nerd radio show fell in love with an Iron Man cartoon. And I am so excited today because we will be reviewing this version of Whiplash, who is very reminiscent of the character from that cartoon.
Come geek out with us on the Rock Nerd Radio Show.
Welcome back to the channel. As I said, we are looking at this version of the retro-carded Whiplash figure, a figure that I have been wanting on my shelf for a very long time. Now, this character also goes by the name of Blacklash, something that he was referred to in an Iron Man show. The original Iron Man toy of this figure was actually called that. The costume was a little different in that the original old Toy Biz figure that had an action feature on it was more blue than it was black. But the purple matches, the crazy greenish ponytail matches, and the Electro Whip matches to a degree as well. Even the satchel does. So let's take a look at this figure real quick. I'm just going to toss the whip aside for a moment so that we can take a look at this figure. This figure, by the way, is currently available on toy shelves or store shelves, wherever you get your action figures, at the price tag of $25. And he, he's not a bad looking figure. The overall appearance of this figure is neat. It is on that new pinless style body that they are doing. As you can see, there are no pins there on the elbows, no pins there on the knees. The cape is keyed into this figure, so it is not going to start flopping around on you. It is stuck there, which I like. It also means that his satchel is pretty much staying put as well. There is a little bit of movement, but it's not going to start squirming all over the place. It is pretty much staying put, which I like for these little man purses that so many of these figures have. I think the mask is done very well. Zooming in on it, you can see that it is sculpted. There are sculpted lines there. The eyes are set back in it. The lips have a nice paint job on them. You know, it almost looks like Batman without the ears, let's be honest. The ponytail looks very cool. It is done up in a green costume with a little bit of black shading, and it comes to a bit of a circular, curl here at the end. It is something you have to peg in, so it does allow you to have some movement with it. We'll talk about that a little more when we get to the articulation. The cape has this very nice clasp going between it, as the collar from his V-neck is also folded on top of the cape. That is a nice way to do it, but also, that V-neck goes down. Little bit of a paint snub right there. It looks like, there is a little bit of black there, but that should probably still be flesh tone, but that's okay. The costume is just done up in black. Any bit of sheen is just from my light that I have reflecting onto this. The purple on the gloves looks very nice. I like that these gloves have some texture to them, but also come to a point. I think that is very nice. And near as I can tell, they are sculpted on. Maybe they're glued on. It is definitely like an overlay. They're fit over the forearms here, but I can't get them to rotate, so they might be glued on. Nothing at the belt. Going down to the legs, everything looks fine. Again, that black and purple. We have some ruffles in the boot. And then again, these points up on the boot, which I think look very good. These do rotate because they are probably attached to the boot cut. So, it does allow for that movement there. We'll talk about, again, the articulation as we go. But then bringing it around to the cape. The cape is a different shade of pinkish purple. So it does look different from the rest of the figure, which I think looks good. And really nothing much going on. The cape does peg in. So there is a hole there. You can see that peg. Can I get that right on camera? There we go. So it is pegged in, but because it's kind of keyed in, it's like I said, it's not really going anywhere. In terms of articulation for this figure, I already kind of talked about the ponytail. You can spin that however you want. He kind of looks like a Who from Dr. Seuss. But, it moves. It looks good. And it's actually what I would like a character with a ponytail to do. That way you can kind of, pose him however you want, maybe like a neutral stance, perhaps the wind is blowing one way, moving with the way that he is attacking a character. I think that works. The ball joint neck is on a peg as well, so it will go way down and up, and that's about as far up as he's going to look, but the ball joint does turn left and right, so there is that. And because it's a ball joint, there is a little bit of wiggle and waggle here. Moving down to the body, we do have, of course, an articulated waist, which will turn. Cape doesn't really impede too much in terms of ab crunch. He's going down that far. and back that far. The cape does get in the way a little bit for that, but nothing terrible. The arms will rotate just about all the way around. You are going to have to move them around the cape, but you know, it's there. And then they will move out. Oop, come on. Did I jam up the arm? I jammed up the arm doing that. So, all right, do be careful when rotating the arm that you don't jam it up like I just did. But once you do, you can get it out that far and then back down. Of course, movement up there at the top of the arm. Double jointed elbow, so you get some nice bend on it. And these hands will rotate and will swivel. You'll notice that this hand is a fist, while this hand is an open hand, but they both swivel in the same way. We'll talk about why there are different sets of hands in just a moment. Going down to the legs, as you would expect, they're going to kick out. And some pretty good kicking out there, almost right fully in front of them. And they kick to the side a little bit. They could have gone a little more, but again, I'm not having this kid doing this character doing splits. Rotation at the thigh, double jointed pinless knee, so it does kick back quite a bit. Again, the boot's kind of big, so you know, not going to be able to like kick his own butt, but you can bend the knee. Boot cut, so that whole boot is moving with the boot cut. It's not like in the middle of the boot cut, and or the cut isn't in the middle of the boot. And then feet will move back and forth and go left and right. So there we go. Looks pretty decent. Moves pretty decently, like you would expect from a Marvel Legends. I don't expect every character to like reinvent the articulation structure. In terms of accessories, you already saw it before, but let me bring it back in. It is this electro shock whip that Whiplash has. It does look very neat. It's done up in like a translucent yellow. It's not really like a bendy wire. It is kind of, you know, stuck in this shape, but it will, you know, you can move it around a little. It's always going to kind of move back, but if you heat it, you might be able to straighten the whip out if you want, whatever you're going to do with it. It does seem to be just a little weak. I just hit the camera, I apologize. At the handle, like this piece, it feels a little floppy. So just be known of that. But he's going to hold it in his gripping hand, and you know, it looks good. It is, you know, a very heavy whip that he's holding in one spot. So like I'm just kind of laying it on the ground for posing, because otherwise I'm not really sure how well I don't think it's going to be able to stand up very well. Like I don't think he's going to be able to keep it in the air. As you can see, it kind of twists. So right now I kind of got it in the air, but something tells me eventually it's going to start to turn and sag a little bit, like, you know, into something like this. So but overall looks good. He does have other hands as well. So there are there's another fist for his right hand and an open hand for his left hand. This one, I don't think it grips the whip quite as well. So I did try it out, but just to show you what it looks like, I'll take the whip out of his hand. And in this hand, like, you kind of got to really press it in there. And then the fingers, I don't feel go around the whip enough, like, or go around the whip enough. So like, it doesn't do a good job holding that whip. So that's why I just kind of have him holding it with his right hand. It has nothing to do with the fact that the original figure, I think, held it with the right hand as well. But that definitely helps. So overall, this figure looks pretty good. I think he's a cool looking character for your Iron Man shelf. I know he's fought other heroes, and you could really stick him with any number of characters on your shelf. I tend to stick him with Iron Man, and it is mostly because of that Iron Man cartoon. Now, one of the things I do want to mention is in that Iron Man cartoon, at least in that first season, Whiplash here, who was Blacklash in the show, which again kind of goes back and forth in the comics, he was part of like Mandarin's like team of like mercenaries. It almost seemed like Mandarin had like a supervillain team in that first season. MODOK was on it. I didn't want to take MODOK off my shelf because I have to move a whole bunch of characters. But some of the other characters that were on it were Whirlwind. So just to put Whirlwind out here we go. We also had Grey Gargoyle. So there's Grey Gargoyle. We also had Blizzard, and although this isn't the correct version of Blizzard from that show, here's a Blizzard figure. And we also had Dread Knight. And here is the Dread Knight Marvel Legends figure. So, like, these guys look pretty cool as a squad. There were other people on this squad that I'm still waiting for Marvel Legends to do. if they'll ever do them. One of the characters who occasionally showed up was Living Laser. We do have a Living Laser, but it is a more modern version of Living Laser. It is not a classic, that 90s Living Laser where he almost looks like a Mega Man villain. But the other character that I would love for them to do would be a character called Hypnotia, who, as far as I know, didn't exist in the comics. I believe she was just in that show. But Dread Knight and Whiplash always kind of had a love triangle, biting for her affection kind of thing. So I think it'd be funny to get a Hypnotia figure. Part of me thinks maybe I could try to custom one, but she has so many like stripes on and like ring things on her. I think it would be hard to kind of nail that down, but I think it would be cool. Another character who I'm waiting for is a frigging Mandarin. I used to have the old Toy Biz Face-Off 2-pack Mandarin on my shelf, and he's basically a character in a giant plastic cloak, and you couldn't really do much with him. So he's no longer on my shelf. I would love an official Mandarin figure, even if you give me the cartoon like green skin half Dragon Man lizard. I would take that because it would fit well with what my Iron Man shelf is. Just to show you what old Whiplash here looks like with some other Iron Men. Here he is with the Model 9 from this vintage wave, and here he is with the modular armor Iron Man, which is the armor that fought all these characters in the show. Of course, I have the one from the Ursa Major Build-A-Figure wave, so this is the shinier one. They did do one on a vintage card with more like flat colors like the Model 9 over here, but I think they all look good together. And if you want to get even a little crazier, the original Iron Man toy line had all kinds of crazy Iron Man suit designs. One of them that I loved as a kid was the Samurai Armor Iron Man, and I made a custom Samurai Armor Iron Man who's been hanging out on my shelf for a very long time. So there we go. These all look pretty good together. I'd had a nice time putting this video together, and I would love to hear your thoughts. Are you picking up Whiplash? Do you care? Is he too obscure for you? Are you going to have him fight Spider-Man instead of Iron Man? Let me know. I would love to hear about how you are displaying these characters on your shelf. I picked up one other character from this Iron Man retro card wave. It was the Model 20 armor, but I don't think I'm going to be putting out a review for it. It was a fun one, but I don't think I really need to do a review on it. If you want to see it, let me know. I'll put one out. But anyway, let me know what characters you have picked up from this Iron Man wave. I would love to hear about it. And until next time, I've been Dan. You've all been pretty awesome. I'll see you around. Well, there we go. What did you think of this video? Sound off in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Remember, we are making a push to get to 700 subscribers here on the channel. If we do that before the HasLab Giant Man arrives, I will be giving away the old Toy Biz Giant Man Build-A-Figure that you've seen on my shelf and things like that. So hit subscribe, leave a comment, hit like if you're so inclined, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Come get